The Light Institute and the Sanctuary of Light. Welcome each and all of you to this time of knowings and invite you to bring forward the questions of your heart so that through our conversations we can give a gift to all the thousands of people who feel the same way, who are looking at life in the same way and are looking for their own answers. So please be informal and tell me what you would like to discuss. Yes.
Can you talk about synchronicity?
Yes, it's a word we've had, synchronicity, for eons of time, but I feel as if it has peeled away the constriction of its meaning in the last few years. It has always meant this kind of coming together and breaking through the time barrier in a linear way of past, present, and future. Synchronicity means that in some way, everything is connected and they unfold together so that you're in the right place at the right time, that something crosses at that moment that has meaning for you. And what we're seeing on the planet right now is an incredible expansion of synchronistic experience. Whether it's something as simple as the phone rings and you go, oh yes, I know who that is, and now I've been thinking about you and you call me, to the synchronicity of meaning. Let's say you're thinking of a question and you open a book or someone calls you and speaks to you or someone appears at that moment, and that is synchronicity in its practical energetics, and it's becoming something that people cannot ignore in today's world. It's happening to all of us, and it's saying there's something inside you that is guiding, that's orchestrating, perhaps a better word, orchestrating a holographic point of reference so that you are in the right place at the right time, so that you do get the answers that you need because there is meaning in everything. In the old days, they found meaning in the shape of the leaf of a plant in terms of its healing qualities, or if a bird flew in front of you. I still feel that way. I have the sky above my head at night, and if I'm thinking a thought and there's a shooting star, it always feels like, aha! That's it. Pay attention to that point. And so synchronicity helps us to become conscious, aware of what we're thinking. Because we go through our lives and we're treading water, we're just trying to make it through. And then all of a sudden, we begin to notice that there is something here and it's connected to that, and there's some purpose that's going on. There's something that makes it happen at that moment, not 5 seconds later or 5 seconds in the future, but at that moment. When we experience that, there's something that occurs to us emotionally and spiritually, and that is that we are part of the world, that our life is not in vain, that there are no answers, but that, yes, there are answers, and that there is something that is, again, orchestrating and supporting us. People in today's world very much need to feel and to be supported. And when we think, what is the purpose of my life? If you could smile at another person, if you had one supportive comment to make to someone, you would be giving a gift. You have no idea how it might change someone's day or someone's life. And so synchronicity, synergy, all of these powerful energies that are beginning to take on a practical manifesting expression are whispering to us, don't lose that sense of support. Don't lose the awareness that your life has purpose, even if it for some moment it seems that it doesn't. It does. So thank you.
Thank you.
So that's very helpful. And this weekend, I like to watch C-SPAN, and I was watching the Martin Luther King Memorial celebration this morning. It went on for hours.
Yes.
And then this weekend they also showed 20 years after Anita Hill testified against Clarence Thomas. And then also they had a special about the Wall Street thing going on with the young people in Wall Street. And I just saw this interesting flow between all of those. And even they played King's dream speech.
Yes.
And he actually used the language "we are one," which I hadn't remembered. It's very interesting.
And so we so often look out at the world and say, nothing is getting better. And so what you saw was a synchronistic whisper or shout to you, oh no, things are getting better. And we are awakening. I was discussing with some people this morning that how all of us did very drastic things in our 20s, you know, and the other two people were saying, where are the young people? Why aren't they out there? Well, they are out there. And they have been sedated, I would say, by technology, by drugs, by whatever. But we have hit critical mass, and it's going to go very fast now, just as did at the Vietnam War, just as it did at other times that you were speaking of with Martin Luther King, when suddenly there was a point, a critical mass that occurred, and everyone said, yes, I belong to that. This is what I want to say. This is what I want to live for. And young people have very much needed that, and it's rippling out, not just in Wall Street, but all over the country. It needs to get louder, and it needs to get louder fast, because right now the political scene has not caught up to responsibility and all of those conversations, the changes that need to be made. I was speaking recently with one of the world players in terms of economics who said, our form of economics is dying. And we have to understand that. And my thing is to really feel how important it is to help the have-nots and the haves recognize that they're dancing together and that there is purpose for both of them in this change. And it's not taking away, it's not Robin Hood. It's not taking away from the rich and giving it to the poor. That's a very bad, spiritually, a very bad idea because it doesn't respect the power of each being to find the answer, to find the solution. It doesn't mean that those that have found solutions can't share them with others. And so we have to really be about supporting people to see that the more that you learn to share, the richer your life will be on many levels. So thank you for bringing that up, because this is a moment that we need to say, look where we are now. We wouldn't dream of the kinds of constriction that we thought of 30 years ago, 40 years ago. We are different. And our being different allows us to support the young to carry us all into the next octave.
Well, what happened in both of those, the King's celebration and the retrospective on Anita Hill, is people who were any age when that happened, they all were speaking about the impact it had on their life, and you could see this incredible network of events that had occurred because of what those two individuals did and the people around them. And
so I remember a little piece of science from way back. The breath of the first human is still within the ethers. And so each one of us can carry a Martin Luther King or this woman who stood up and said, I will not live with this. And so we need to, again, integrate our models, our superheroes, the templates of what causes change. But I feel it's very important to realize that not only do we need to be visible and to step out there and be heard and be seen, but that also what would seemingly be the invisible aspect is very important. What you think affects this world. And so wouldn't it be wonderful if we disciplined ourselves in terms of our thought? If every day as you made breakfast, there on the table was, what's your thought? Your thought. Not something somebody else wrote in a book to inspire you, but your thought for the day. That which will help you turn it around. Because, for example, at the Nijoni School for Global Consciousness at the beginning of the year, I used to have them write in a notebook all their negative thoughts. You can't believe how thick those notebooks got. In a week's time, every negative thought, every unconscious, oh, this won't happen, or that's no good, or all of that impossibility instead of how it is that I and we are the solutions. Thank you.
I heard about this institute yesterday.
Oh.
So, and I read on the webpage about the past life incarnations.
Yes.
And how the healing of the past life incarnations is an important step.
Yes.
So, and for me, for my life, I had at the beginning of my spiritual life 1 broken leg and 1 year ago, and both at the same place, down here. And
Your right leg?
both legs.
Both legs?
Yeah. And in a silent meditation for 1 week in India, I had the picture that I had chains there at one time in my life.
Yes.
And now I want to go there and discover if the chains are still there. Or
Well, they are, or they wouldn't have broken your legs. You can be sure of that. I've been working in incarnational work for 54 years. That's a lot of lifetimes to witness. And first of all, we would never call them past lives. We would always call them incarnations of the soul. Because, just as you're pointing out, if you had an experience of being in chains, your body, the cellular level of your body will actually carry that imprint. And so when people say, what is an inherited disease, or why do you get this problem or that problem where you break a leg, we always find that there's an echo of that from some other lifetime. The important thing is that not only may it be involved in your breaking your legs in this lifetime, but the circumstance of it, allowing yourself to be the victim, allowing someone to lord it over you, feeling the impossibility of simply being the victim, being punished, being tortured, being whatever that is, being held back. Because in your life, at this time, it's not time to be held back. So you want to not only break those chains, but dissolve them from your cellular memory. And that's what's very important about the Light Institute work, is that it's completely focused on the energetic aspect. Because you can, as you were just talking about, spontaneously remember a lifetime, especially if it's one that was difficult or usually the negative.
I had another one too. So.
Yes, but it's not enough to remember them. In fact, it's almost bad to remember them because it activates them. What you want to do is get them out of the cellular memory so that you do not repeat them. And for that, you need some skill. It takes the facilitators here 3 years to be a facilitator, because to recognize energy and to be able to help someone. We don't do it for you. To help you find it and pull it out is very, very crucial. And so it's great that you've had that memory. And what it means is that you've come to a place in this lifetime where all of that being in chains, whether that's symbolic or physiological, health, whatever that is, you're finished. You know? In any lifetime, we have an experience, not because the soul is punishing us. You might have put other people in chains in some lifetime, to put it simply. But it isn't because of that. It's because you have chosen to rebalance some karmic conversation so that you can see the hologram. Who the victor, who the vanquished, who the victim, who the victimizer. And so we want to be able to see it from all those perspectives so that everybody goes free. When you clear those lifetimes, all of those, whether they were the ones that put you in the chains, whom you probably know in this lifetime, or others who were also in chains, what you have done with your consciousness will ripple out and help them. And we as a soul group really need to choose to learn our lessons in a different way. Not from this dense, destructive physical aspect, but to realize that the physical body is a miracle. Just as you may have found from breaking your legs. I too have broken many bones in my bodies and been able to heal them in hours. Simply because once I got what I was doing, then I had to take care of my body. Yeah.
Well, I have another question about kind of connecting to what you've said about, you know, the new people, the new generations, and actually I talked to a kindergarten teacher who told me she's already working, she's close to retirement, and she said that the children that are born nowadays, first of all, they're heavier, their bodies are heavier than 20, 30 years ago, and also she experiences like the children, how they're in school, how they are more already like personalities, and they actually don't as much need the bonding with the grown-ups as much anymore. She told me an example where she said that usually boys, when they were little and came to kindergarten, they used to sit on her lap and say, oh, I want to marry you sometime later. And it doesn't, these days
it's not because she's tired and old. Surely not. Surely not. It's not because she's not carrying that juice anymore. That little kids recognize. I would say that that's a very interesting point, and there's truth in that. But I would say that it isn't that the children don't need the bonding, because they do. It's that the parents need to bond in a different way. The parents need to bond from a spiritual perspective. That your child may have been your parent. That your child is your soul friend who is here to balance your energy. If you see them in that way, then you will always treat them as a conscious being. They need that. Children need guidance, but they also need expression. And that expression needs to be on a spiritual level. And parents don't allow that. We don't like it when a 4-year-old says, grandmother's going to die. We don't like it when a child says, he's bad. We don't like those kinds of mysterious things that come out of their mouths or come out of their behavior. Children at 4 are already reenacting their other incarnations, for example. And so parents need to see that parenting is different today than it was 30 years ago. It's not about controlling. So we have all these illusions, shall we say, or terrible stigma of the terrible 2s, the unruly 4s, etc., that need to fall away. Because the beings that are coming in today are coming in with the heaviness of the pollution that we've created on the planet. Imagine a pure photon energy being bumped into by the junk we have going on in our environment and in our consciousness and in our bodies. You know, even being carried by a mother who's conflicted about pregnancy or is conflicted about love, or all of those incredible conversations about relationship, about family. It's certainly true that the nuclear family is not the same today as it was 20 years ago. And that is not necessarily a difficult thing. It's simply that we have to apply consciousness to it to see how we can use it, rather than having a child suffer. And as you well know, when we go back to the moment before conception, a 4-year-old, a 5-year-old will say, oh, I knew my daddy would leave. How'd you know that? Because he chose it. And there's some purpose in it. And the purpose is not to suffer, but to rather take on the fathering energy, etc., etc. So I would say bonding is important, but not in that way of the totem pole. I am your parent, you will bend to my will. That's what we have called bonding for forever. That's not the bonding we need in today's world, for sure. But children still need that nesting energy. They still need a place of safety, and they need to feel that they have someone who trusts them and admires them, who's not always saying no. You can't, you can't, you can't. All of us can easily think of how many no's we received, how much negativity was placed upon us, that forced growth on one level, but influenced and disturbed our sense of self. One of the biggest problems in today's world is a tortured sense of self. I have no purpose, no one's going to listen to me, I can't make it, no one would choose me, etc., 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 etc. And again, I'm saying this with a tickle, but I would have to say this teacher is ready to retire. I myself have been a teacher for a long time. It takes tremendous energy to work with children because they are 50 steps ahead of you. They've already put 1 and 1 or 3 together and have run off with it. And so you have to carry the juice. And if your receptor cells are saying, I don't want sexuality, I don't want life force, I'm just tired, I just want to go home, well, children pick that up. So they're not going to say that to you. They're going to say it to the next little kid. And so we always have to see our part in the reflection of what we're seeing in the outside world. How is this a reflection of me? Is the war a reflection of me? Is the I don't care reaction a reflection of me, etc., etc. So thank you.
Thank you.
I was going to say that in my perspective, what we see happening in the world today with the youth, and it's now not just in this country, it is worldwide.
Absolutely.
Australia and South Africa and Asia, of course Asia has a very different view because they have a very different experience. But from the Mayans to many other indigenous cultures, there has been this tradition of looking for change to take place at about this juncture in our time period. And all of them have kind of been in the agreement that at that point, all the old institutions, all of them, must come crumbling down in order to make room for entirely new institutions, such as economics, as that person indicated, which naturally implies that someone is going to have to figure out what is the new system of economics, what is the new system of politics, what is the new system of how we interact with one another, what is the new system of how we share with one another, with how we exchange energy with one another. And some of us have been in the old system long enough that we seem to keep coming up with permutations kind of the old system. This has to be totally new and different. And to me, if you see so many people accusing these young people, well, they're not focused, they don't know what they want. They will.
They will.
They will. They just got out there, and the sense that I get from it is just by being there. The time period, of course, pulls greatness out of all historical figures.
Well said.
The people in history that we know of would not have been noticed out of the context of their own time period. So these individuals are making themselves available. They're opening their consciousness. They've literally been put in a position, ecologically, financially, etc., where many of them have the very clear view that their future has been looted.
It has. But let me say something here that I think is very important. In the same way that the Mayans looked at the galactics to take care of their needs, and we have habitually looked at the governments or the financial situations to take care of our needs. There's two aspects there. Things come crumbling down so the new that can begin. But what I've noticed about the cosmos is that nothing new actually happens. It's just the gases change form, energy changes form. And so the old becomes the new by remixing, so to speak. And so as it comes apart, we will use aspects of what's been there. We've had some wonderful structures. The problem is that our consciousness has not grown with it. We have stayed in a level of survival, and the survival level has contributed to our not being able to go to the next octave with the wealth that we were intelligent enough and creative enough to manifest on the planet. So we don't want to fall into the same pattern and say it's all to the young, because you guys are still here.
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So just remember that, you know, in the same conversation of bonding, it isn't those guys that are going to do it. After all, they will remember Vietnam, they will remember segregation, they will remember many points of reference and create their own story from it. Okay, this is how we will do it because they had that reference. But it's very important for us to participate and not to wait for those guys to wake up. If we wake up, the next generation will wake up.
And there are many representatives of, say, people now in their 60s who are out there. There are many more who can't quite sleep on the pavement anymore that are supporting them in other ways.
That's right. Anybody who can do it, from sitting at home and sending a color to them, to putting your money down, to applauding them, to whatever it is that comes to you. It's the participation. Because no longer can we wait until we become so angry that we're violent. That will not work. But what we need to do is say, you will stop this, and we will do something else. Right now, as is true of all points of change, people don't feel that they have the answer. But the answer is always connected to the problem. And so as we focus on the problem at the moment, the answer will come. And the way we're focusing is we're saying, no, we don't want that. And we haven't done that before. We've just sort of said, oh, isn't it getting bad? Isn't it terrible? Instead of, no. And in the United States, it's a perfect time because we went one round. We slept through many rounds, actually. But we just had one in the last 2 years. We went around where we did not voice, we did not act upon what we know is true. And so now it is time for that action. And it's a joyous moment, and it's just fantastic for everyone to, again, not say these are the bad guys, but say, let go of that doesn't work, here's something else. And we will come up with those solutions because, again, inextricably intertwined. Thank you.
Thank you.
So it's kind of a follow-up on a personal level. What is the best way to let go, really let go?
Turn your attention elsewhere. I can't think of a better way to let go. What keeps us from letting go is that the emotional mind is fed neurologically, physiologically, emotionally, electrochemically, from hanging on. It can continue to go, I should have said this, and those guys are going to do that, and what did he say about that, and what if I, and it just keeps spinning. And so when you spin, you are the tiger chasing its tail on a horizontal plane. You're not finding the solution, you're justifying, you're feeding yourself. It's an addiction, it's a poison. And so the thing that makes the emotional mind let go is put your attention on something that has nothing to do with it. Maybe you have to quit a job. Horrors in today's world. Maybe you do. Maybe you have to, if you've been attempting to come into alignment with a group of people and it's not happening. Of course, you must know that that's part of you. But sometimes we have the right and actually the mandate to stop. I'm training puppies right now, and there's a thing called stop play, which means knock it off, that's too much, and sometimes we have to do that. So put your attention on something that builds you, that allows you to be new. What happens in our jobs and in our relationships is that we have contracts and vows on a spiritual and emotional level, and so we just play that role again and again and again on automatic pilot, and we lose the self. And so sometimes we have to be brave and say, well, this isn't really who I am. It's not really what I want. It's not really nourishing me to stay in this fight. Because winning the argument, so what? What do you get from it? You get something that continues, something that probably started in other lifetimes. And so if you want to let go, meditate on how you could be something new, either a solution to that, or what's a new way of being. What do you want to do? Who do you want to be? And begin to meditate on that and to bring that energy into you. As you do that, what will happen is that you'll shift so that you actually don't link up with whatever you were holding on to. It's hard for us in today's world, again, because we're so addicted to the conversation that it's the other guys. We're never trained that it has anything to do with us. That we really don't believe that we're the source of our abundance, or our happiness, or our life force energy, or any of those things. We really don't believe that. And we're so lonely that we would rather have a negative relationship or a negative experience rather than be invisible completely. And that battles with the part of us that sits and watches television for hours and hours and hours and hours. And then sort of sucks the emotional quality from whatever you're watching on television and playing it out in your life. So the answer is really very simple, and it's very simple to do. It's just like putting a puzzle together. Shall I try this piece? Shall I try this piece? Shall I try this piece? Or painting a painting. Do I like that green? Do I like the blue? You know, choosing. So letting go is about the power of choice. I don't choose this anymore. That's enough. I've given enough energy to this. I don't need to win the battle. You don't need to win it. No. You need to feel what it's like to manifest what pleases you. Not about what the other guy's doing. Never about what the other guy's doing. Because you've heard me say many times, at the moment of your death, you won't be thinking about what the other guy's doing. Even if they wronged you, even no matter how terrible the situation, whatever they did, you won't be thinking about it at the moment of your death. So why waste your life on it? You know, there's, again, anything that holds us there, that we hold on to, we're not holding on to it because it's so relevant to us now. We're holding on to it because of karma. Because it reminds us of something, we associate to something, we're trying to complete something, and it never will be completed. You could carry it down to another 10,000 lifetimes. And so when something is distasteful to you, if you can't, quote, get the upper hand, if you can't resolve whatever it is, letting go is simply turn your attention elsewhere. And turn your attention on something delicious. The emotional body does not let go unless it has something else. So you want to turn it towards something that gives you that feeling of abundance, of happiness, of being loved, of creativity, of power, of something like that. And you will find very quickly that your emotional body just, I don't care about that anymore. And when you don't care about it, that's when something new comes to you. We can't pull possibilities to us. We have to open up and be visible enough that the magnetism just comes to us without any effort. So letting go is easier than we think it is, but you just have to make this motion. That's all. That's all you have to do.
Can I ask another?
Yes.
I was also kind of a follow-up to what you said. I just cleared a person in a session, and I had some beautiful positive lifetimes.
Mm-hmm.
So I was wondering if you could talk about those potentials and... Yeah.
So clearing a person doesn't mean just getting rid of the negative. It's looking at the potential and the points of reference that we have that can allow positive experiences. But the trick is that the emotional body that wants to survive, that wants to be safe, will go into what it knows. In the same way when people say, I think I'd like to be an acupuncturist or a healer or a mathematician or whatever it is, I always say, oh, wonderful. Now go and clear that so that you're not repeating something that you have already mastered or that you want to do better. Leave that. It'll come into your life and you'll be able to use the mastery that you've gained. But don't just presume that because it excites you that that's the answer. so often when we feel excited by something, we think, well, that has to be true then. That must be the good thing. When in fact, usually it's the karmic thing. It's usually the let's rub your nose in it and you'll get the lesson. And so it's wonderful, and that's why when we clear people, we always look at least one lifetime that has been in balance and harmony, so that we can remember that neither of us is doing anything to the other one in a negative way. And so that potential is there, but what you want to do is to grow to the next octave of that potential, not just repeat it. So if you cleared someone and you looked at the negative and many positive lifetimes, all you need to do is just relax. Just relax, and what will happen for sure is that in the next 3 weeks, that person will either come closer to you and you'll see each other in new ways, and some of the little squeezing that's going on will fall away, or you just won't be so wild about I have to make this happen, and it will just unfold and be released. And that's the beauty of allowing our higher self to orchestrate for us our consciousness, because once we're aware of potential, we can wield it. If we're not aware of it, then we just get bounced around by it. There are these good things and it makes me want to stay with this person, but then the rest of it is terrible. Or we're expedient. So often in relationships it's about expediency. It's better if we're together. What would I do if I were alone? Or how will I handle this? Or we're already living together. Or because we're so afraid to trust the source inside us. You are the source of your abundance, of your health, of your possibilities, not the other guy. That other guy can be a mirror and can be a stimulus, but it doesn't happen through them. It happens through you. And so that's the beauty of clearing someone. You've looked at it, and now you just relax and let it unfold, and it will.
Thank you.
And that is the mystery.
So, I just had a 30-year friend die about 2 weeks ago. And I know there was some karmic connection. I don't really know what my question is, but I don't know what I'm looking for exactly in terms of input.
You knew he was going to die.
Pardon me?
You knew he was going to die.
I knew she was going to die.
She was going to die.
Yeah. I didn't get to step in as close as I would have liked because of the partner that she has, that she had only for a few years, who hadn't known her for as long as I had, but who really controlled the whole thing.
Yes. That is always painful.
I managed to stay peaceful with it for the most part, but I don't know.
Here's what I would say to you. Her passing is called graduation. For her and for you. So often we identify ourselves through our friends, through this, we have a contact. I know you well and you know me well. Usually that's kind of the tiger chasing its tail anyway. And she needs to be seen in a different way, and you need to be seen in a different way, because 30 years of a relationship means that even if you're growing together, there's probably a lot of stuff that says, we two against the world. Or we agree. That's what makes us friends. We agree, we support each other, even if in your heart you should have said, excuse me, you might be a little off on that one. And how often do we say it or not, And what I always say when I'm doing funerals is, meditate on the qualities that most inspired you about her. And know that psychogenetically you will inherit them. Without thinking about it, she will pass them to you. So what you want to do is to hold that, because that's her legacy. That is how she lives on. Because you become an expression of those positive qualities. But the rest of it she doesn't need anymore. That she might have lived longer if she had had different treatment. That someone who controls her, that's their karma. It has nothing to do with you unless you stick your nose in. And I'm sure you know that what happens when you stick your nose in. That usually doesn't work well.
Right.
Cut off your nose. You stick your nose in and it gets cut off, meaning that the two of them will turn to you and say, please, just relax, get out. Emotionally or unconsciously or some level. And so, again, it's hard because we have a lot of culture based around sorrow, based around I can't get over that someone's left me, I'm either mad at you for leaving me, or etc., etc., etc. And we don't have the education spiritually to say, wow, congratulations, now she can be sure she is in a place where her consciousness is seeing the hologram and balancing that hologram and being nourished. She's being nourished, she's within the light, and it's a blessing for her. All of those struggles are gone for her now. And so why would you carry them on? I think, yes, we all need to allow our that sense of sorrow that we have when someone dies, or grief, but we need to get what it's about, because it's always about us. It's always about us. Because the guys that leave, they're not suffering anymore. They're not suffering from the senses causing pain to them or confusion in their minds. They're in a place of peacefulness. And so they stimulate in us what is not resolved within ourselves. So if you were able to stay out of the fray, that's wonderful. And you don't want to hold it against that person, that partner that she had, because, again, whatever that is, it's about them. And each person does the best they can. I have had to watch so many people die that I know could have not died, and certainly not gone through the suffering, because family members think that's the only choice for them. And even if you put the information under the nose, it's just amazing to me how often they'll just, as if they never saw that information, because in their minds, they are already in this bundle of initiation. They are moving in it, and they have their blinders on. They do not see the other possibilities. And they have this sense of being directed towards something, which of course is the passage from one step to another. And so what you want to do is to begin to bring back to you, because someone who's been your friend for 30 years, there's a lot of her mixed into you. And so now it's time for you to pull away and reinvent yourself. I had a dear friend that was my friend for a very, very long time, who died 2 years ago. And it was quite amazing to me that after she died, and I didn't necessarily love this in her, but I did love her capacity to laugh. She would laugh, this very loud laugh. And very often now, I hear myself laughing in exactly the same tone. And I know that she's passed that to me, and said, just lighten up, Griscom. Laugh it out again. And I mean, it's her laugh. It's coming right through me. It's almost like, who's talking here? But it is something that I admired in her. And I know that it's helping me. So think about those things and take that with you and let the rest of her go. We so often hold people because of our guilt or our unresolved issues, or our sense of, if I truly love them, I will grieve forever. If we truly understand the power of choice, we would not do that. And that was the old idea of Catholic wakes, which was to celebrate life. It's a good idea. Celebrate life and let somebody go. Thank you for that question. There's so many people today who are experiencing that, because there are a lot of people in mass and individuals who are saying, I can't keep going through this anymore. I'm done. And when they're done, and it's our turn to take it up. And again, become the legacy. Give honor to their experience in human body by expressing those higher points of relationship, those higher qualities that they whispered to us.
Yes, can you talk a little bit about kind of how people are so afraid to let go of the work that they have, even though they're dying to? It's like so fearful. And I'm including myself in this a little bit too.
Well, the fascinating thing again is what I said before. We cannot imagine that we're the source of our abundance. So the brain, the intellect, looks out and says, everybody's losing their jobs, the money's falling apart. You better hold on because no one's going to hire you. Because of this, because of that, because of the other. And so that part of the brain just stacks up this incredible wall that you can't see the other side of. When in effect, if you let go, then all of the goodness and all the manifestation that you've accrued in the cosmos is waiting to come towards you, which can't come towards you because you have that stop sign out in front. And so, again, we would rather suffer in a job that we hate rather than have to reinvent ourselves. But right now, we're going to be forced to. We're going to be forced to. And all of those positions that we've held on to, whether we're the have-nots or the haves or top of the pile or the head of the company or whatever it is all going to crumble around anyway. And so it's really important right now to begin to imagine what kind of environment, in what way do you want to nourish the self and the world? Because it's you that's going to do it. And so if you have a block and you have a fear there, you really want to look at it. You want to uncover it. It might be a psychogenetic thing that you got from your parents in the Great Depression. It might be something that's really not yours at all. It's just some old appendage sticking to you, whispering to you, well, I can't get a job. Well, maybe you don't need to get a job. Maybe you are the job, and all you need to do is to acknowledge yourself enough to realize that you can be paid for what you love to do. Yeah. People for years have said to me, what kind of work shall I do? And I've always said, my higher self says the same answer every time. Do what you love.
Yeah.
And if you really commit to doing to what you love, you won't have any trouble saying, and you can pay me well for it, thank you very much.
But the other part of that is too, it's like, I do what I love. I do a lot of what I love. Mm-hmm. And I'm very happy with it. Sometimes though I mind to shift it in a little bit of a direction. So what kind of happens with that is I end up like, with so much stuff, I'm going, okay, we need to back this up a little bit. And I'm communicating with my higher self about all this. And my higher self is really helping me to move into new directions. But what I'm sort of feeling is the balance is like a little bit like this.
That's right. It's only when you get this balance that, it's only gonna rebalance on a new octave because it goes like this. This is actually what evolution looks like if you could see the spiral from a flat surface. It goes like that. So until you can get a little imbalance, you're never going to make that step.
Right.
It's always when we're about to fall off the precipice then we rebalance. We take the step that will create the balance.
Yeah.
And so probably your higher self has been allowing you, suffering you to take baby steps.
It was showing me a teeter-totter with myself as a child. And I was on the ground and it was kind of, starting to really push up.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah. Well, it's time to push up big time.
A little harder.
Okay, catapulting.
Strengthen up those leg muscles.
That's right. Because, again, there may be thousands of people and situations that are on the periphery of your field of potential, but they can't get in because you are taking baby steps. Because you are, with each step, going, but what happens, I can't control this, and what happens if nobody comes, or what? You have to engage in really listening to your higher self, and we only are really alive when we jump off the precipice. So, giant steps, giant steps.
And would you give that advice to all those people who are out there looking for work?
Oh, my advice to people who are looking for work is that you have to prepare. And that doesn't mean writing a curriculum vitae. It means you have to prepare inside, and so that there's an energy that comes from you and says, choose me, I know how. So many people over the years have said to me, you can spot an Ijoni anywhere because they have this energy. I can do it, even if you've never done it before. I can do it. You know, it's that kind of energy. It's
Yeah,
not
so
what's on the
interesting.
paper.
The other thing my higher self said is, and you have to get rid of that I can't thought.
Yeah. I can't. You need to go back and read The Little Train That Could. I think I can.
Well, I know
Just chant that, let that be your mantra. I think I can. Because whatever we think, we manifest. In truth, in the deepest level of our thought has tremendous power. So, I don't mean I think I can, like maybe I can. I mean, I think I can. Yeah. Absolutely. And we are all in that stage because, man, all of this way of being an automatic pilot has to come to an end. Even the threat of losing your job is waking people up. It's a terrible way to do it, but people, through their anxiety, are beginning to reevaluate. And sometimes in the negative, oh, I'm going to lose my job anyway, and so I don't really like you, etc., etc. But hopefully what it will do is to say, how lucky I am, how fortunate I am, and look at all these people that are around me, and my life is intertwined with theirs, because we spend more time with the people we work with than we do with our lovers and our families, you know. So there's a conversation there. Yes?
I got a thought that this change, also a change not to be in the now, to run, to be forwarded.
Leap forward.
So, but in the now, is that what we mean?
That's exactly a perfect example of what I'm talking about. The past is not in the past, it's in the future, and it's in the present. So it's blocking you. Those chains are still echoing through you. I can't. You know, I'm not free to choose what I want. I'm in chains. And that happens emotionally, mentally, spiritually, physically. And so when you get an image of that moving through you, you want to get rid of that so that you are clearly mandating to your body and to your emotional body, I am free. I am free. So that you begin to take the responsibility of what it means to be free. Because there is something that goes with that. Yeah. Great. What else?
I walk a lot, and as you spoke of her problem, I thought of walking up very, very high hills, like Lavada. Walking up to, and people say, it's a very long walk. It's not. It's not. I look down, and I take the one step, I made it. I make another step, I make it. I make another step. I don't walk the whole hill, I walk this step.
This moment.
And suddenly, I'm up there.
Yes. And what you're saying, thank you, that's such a beautiful conversation for us all, is that we get ahead of our lives, you know. And so we evaluate ourselves in terms of what we consider to be potential over there, what we think it's supposed to look like. It never looks like that thing up there. As you well know, once you get to the top of the hill, everything looks completely different. And then, of course, you get to come down from the top of the hill. And that's another whole story, you know. So, very much so, if we could be in the present, and we can't do that in our minds, because everyone knows that, you know, live in the now, be in the present moment. But our emotional bodies do this past, present, and future. Why do they do it? Since the emotional body itself doesn't live in the future, it doesn't have time. It does it because it is petrified of surviving. That is the one echo that goes through the emotional body that's been there since the beginning of time. How do I individually, how do we as a tribe, how do we survive? Do we please the gods? Do we do it this way? Do we do what you say? How do we survive? Do we kill the animal? Do we make the sacrifice? And so here we are at a time, at the beginning of a whole new cycle, when we must shed all of that. I am who I am because of what I do. I am who I am so that I can survive, because you can't help but survive. Your body will not survive. Hello. It will not survive. So it's just a piece of clothing. And we want to honor it. And I think the more that we honor it, the better it will perform. Why should we die in age-related suffering? When we can just say, I did a good job here. I really did a good job. I'm finished. I leave it to you guys. I'm out. And be out. We go out of our bodies every night when we sleep. Why should we have this trouble when it comes time to die? You know? It's just shedding something. And, of course, the other side of that is that something new irrevocably will come into its place. And so, how to be in the present is really something that necessitates a kind of multi-dimensional focus. In other words, we don't have 5 senses, we have 70 senses. How do you look at a flower? How do you look at that step? What are you aware of around you as you're making that step? You know, are the birds singing? What's the sky doing? What the shadows are doing? I moved to New Mexico because I've never seen light like this. Every moment the light changes here, every moment. You can drive the same road for forever, and every second you'll see the shadows change. So it's whispering to you, be here with me now, be here now. You know, in a way that allows your consciousness to be that. And of course, in Chinese medicine we would say, blood follows qi, qi follows blood, which means if you're walking, if you're moving, then you can be in the present. Your consciousness can expand, but you will be in your body, and you will take your body onto a higher octave. And this is what they're talking about when they're talking about endorphins and all of those energies that bring us peace. Because the body is walking through the world. You're not thinking about your muscles, you're not demanding that your body get to the top of the hill, but you are striding, you are creating this pulse of you connected to your environment. And that's a spiritual mastery that we very, very much need in the world today. So it's almost impossible for us to talk about, and of course I always, or my higher self always whispers to me, forget the shoulds, let go of the shoulds, and just view the humor of being here, but embrace and acknowledge yourself. And in that way you can acknowledge the young people, the children, the old people. We are all in this together. And we are all mirroring for each other possibilities. So what we want to do, as we say at the Light Institute, is pierce the heart. Look through someone's struggle and their impossibilities and their suffering and see who's in there and uphold that, as I do for each of you. Thank you for being here.
Thank you.